Welcome back. A sales page is where we get the visitor to make a purchase, or at least that's what we're trying to get them to do. Now, sometimes this actually happens across multiple pages along what's called the checkout funnel or the purchase funnel, but the decision to buy the product or service has to start somewhere. So that's why we'll focus on sales pages that have a call to action to buy something. So let's look at some real examples of sales pages. Okay, here's the first sales page we're going to look at. And again, this is a familiar one because we've mentioned it earlier in the course when I was explaining the different types of landing pages. This was one of the examples given. So this is for a product called Hustle Case. And what it is, it's basically a whiteboard that you can attach to your laptop case. So it's a pretty cool idea. And I could see this being very popular in Silicon Valley and with tech startups and that type of stuff, where you might need a whiteboard with you wherever you go. So a very simple page. Again, this one's being used as their landing page and their home page. So it's sort of a 2-in-1. So I'm giving them a little bit of leeway because they do have some other links here, like social links and stuff like that. But again, for the purposes of this video, we really want to focus on the different elements that are in place, the copy, the way that the page answers the 7 questions every landing page should answer. So in that case, I think they're doing a really good job here. So they have this headline, ideas need action to grow. So I wouldn't say it's the best headline because it doesn't tell me what is being sold, but it's interesting because it talks about ideas. And when you think of whiteboards, ideas are certainly a big part of it. So I think that's the angle that they're trying to play up, is that this helps you create or define your ideas in a new way. And then it says here, sketch your ideas into action with Hustle Case. So that's much more descriptive. So I think this is a good example of how you can pair a headline with a subhead, where you let the headline sort of introduce this overall idea, and then you really firm it up and define it with the subheadline. So they work very well together. And a common A/B test that I've seen a lot of folks try is you could always just switch the subhead with the headline if you want to, just give it a shot. It's a good test to run if you have enough traffic. But basically, yeah, imagine if this was the main headline. So sketch your ideas into action with Hustle Case, and then it says down here, ideas need action to grow. That would be your subhead. It's interesting and something to test. What I like about this page is they have a video. When you click on it, it auto plays in a light box. So I think that's well done, and it loads very quickly. What I also like about the desktop version is you can see these trust icons above the fold. Now on mobile, you can't. As you scroll down, in fact, I don't think they're visible at all. Yeah, so that's interesting. I don't know why you would not want to show the trust icons on mobile, because I think that's a really important part of the page. But at least you can see the call to action button here. They have this nice free shipping for US orders offer here. When you click on it, it just scrolls you down to the actual product. And so let's scroll down a little bit. It tells you some features of the product, what you can do with it. I like that they're using a bulleted list here, so it's easy to consume. They give you some different use case ideas. And then they have this testimonial, which is great. It's worked into the page pretty flawlessly in terms of a design style, where they have this mosaic tile structure. And then another testimonial, and then the actual purchase area where you have these different choices you can make. You can see some reviews here, and pretty simple. FAQ section. I mean, there's not much to not like about this page. It's simple, and I think it makes sense for what they're offering, because it's not a very expensive product. It's an easy to understand product once you see it, especially if you watch the video. And it's a clean page, and it looks good on mobile. It loads fast. So I think we'll leave it at that for Hustle Case, and we will move on to the next sales page. Okay, here we are with the second sales page that we'll be looking at, and this one's for a book. And I wanted to include a landing page for a book because I know a lot of the folks who are taking this course are interested in either writing a book or promoting their existing book, and a landing page is a crucial step in that process. So here, this book is called Free PR. You can see that plain and simple with this book cover. This is really important to have the tangible item that you're getting be present above the fold. And the only thing that seems off about this above the fold section, though, is there's no logo or no source of who's behind this page. And I thought that was strange, because mostly you would expect there to be some type of logo or call to action or something here in the header. So it just seems kind of empty there. Especially for a book on PR, you would expect it to be associated with some type of firm or agency or something. What I do like, though, is the colors and the overall style as we scroll down the page. The use of really just 3 colors, yellow, black, and white. Very well done, with a few other colors thrown in. But it's a clean page. As we look at the headline, it says, "Grow your business without paying for ads." Very good use of a well-known headline formula. They're offering this benefit, and then they have this without part, which is sort of the qualifier, which helps show how this is going to teach you something that's different. Because we've all seen headlines that say things like, grow your business, improve your life, but that doesn't tell me how this is different. What's the hook here is without paying for ads. Now people are wondering, oh wow, this is something different. And then they see the title, Free PR. Okay, now I get what this is doing. And this #1 bestseller, it's great, but again, I would try to qualify that somewhere. Where is it the #1 bestseller? Is it on Amazon? Is it on the New York Times? Anyone can just say they're the #1 bestseller, but how do you qualify that statement? Then you have this Buy Now button. Easy to see, clear. It's right in the middle of the page. Can't really miss it. But again, it's not above the fold on the mobile version. And I know it's not always possible to get the call to action above the fold. I'm guilty of building pages where it's not above the fold, but it's just something to be mindful of. And if you can do it and it fits and it doesn't look cramped, then give it a shot. But in this case, there's just really no room for it. As we scroll down, transform your business with the power of free PR. Learn how we built several multi-million-dollar companies, so on and so forth. I think the only thing here is if someone doesn't know what PR stands for, that might be an issue. But if that's the case, they're probably not going to be on this page in the first place. But that's something you want to keep in mind is, are there any types of acronyms or terms or jargon that you're using on the page that your target audience may not know? Because if so, you want to either not use those terms or define them, because you want to simplify their experience. And if there's any confusion over what a term means, that's going to create friction. As we scroll down, there's an interesting use of trust icons here, because it says get your company featured in. So if you didn't read this, you might imagine that this book was featured on these different platforms or these different sites. But really what they're just saying is that if you read the book, you can get your company featured on these sites. So I thought that was a really creative use of trust icons, because a lot of people are just going to scroll and see this and say, oh, wow, okay, this is a really credible page because they're associated with these brands. But in this case, it doesn't seem like they are. It just seems like they're saying you could get your company featured in one of these channels. Then you have these testimonials. And again, here we go with the scrolling behavior, which I'm not a fan of. I think it would be better just to have maybe 3 or 6 testimonials that are static. But I like how they're designed, where it's short and they have the headshot, the name, and the position for each. That really helps create the sense of authenticity that these are real testimonials. And then you have this be ready to be a PR expert, get the first chapter for free. So that's interesting. So instead of just buying the book right away, you can get this first chapter free. So this is like a secondary call to action that's more of a lead gen call to action instead of just purchasing the book outright. Then of course you have the author sections, very important. And this part I think was the only other part that was confusing me because it looked like they're trying to also offer a training program. So it's tough to get a page to do more than one thing, or a landing page to get more than to get it to do more than one thing. So in this case, they have the get online training and the buy now. So if I was sending paid traffic to this page and it was to get the book sales, then I would remove the mention of online training. You could always retarget people later with another ad that goes to the training program page, or you could do it as an upsell after they've put the book into their shopping cart or something like that. Okay, here we are with the next sales page to look at, and this one is for the Guardian newspaper. This is their subscription page for folks who are browsing from the United States. And so the main idea here is that they want you to subscribe to either get a 14-day trial or see the subscription options and subscribe to the newspaper. The first thing you're probably going to notice is there's a lot going on this page, and they have this privacy widget or overlay down here at the bottom, and you can see just how much space that takes up on mobile especially. And I don't know for you, but for me, the first thing I noticed was this button that says, I'm okay with that. And it was almost like this was the call to action, but this is just the privacy notice. Now, I know that in a lot of cases, you need to have this, especially to be GDPR compliant. So I'm not saying to remove it, but if possible, there might be better ways to display this type of information, or to make it just take up a little less space or not be as prominent, because what's happening here is it's overwhelming the first impression that someone has of this page, because it's taking up so much screen real estate, and you have that big button here that looks like a call to action. So that's just something to keep in mind, is any type of overlay, pop-up, sticky bar, or sticky footer, you don't want that to distract from your main idea, your headline, your hero shot, and your call to action. And you certainly don't want it to make it appear as if that was the call to action. So anyways, we're going to click it to get rid of it. And once we do that, we can now see the headline here. It says, a better way to fund journalism, a better way to read it. Okay, not a terrible headline, but not super descriptive either. If I was looking at this page for the first time for doing a 5-second test, honestly, I wouldn't know what it is that they're offering. Because what's missing? Well, there's no call to action above the fold, at least on desktop. So on mobile, you do see subscription options, which is not too bad. The other thing is you have this moving graphic here, which, I mean, it looks cool from a design standpoint, but I think it's just, you got so much going on here with the colors, with the graphics. I think you've sort of got the idea from some of the previous reviews I've done that I like simplicity when it comes to the hero section, because this is where people are making that first impression, and you don't want to overwhelm them with too much too quickly. So anyways, as we scroll down, we could see here, again, there's a lot of different colors going on, and there's no dominant color for the call to action, because the call to action button is yellow, but also you have yellow everywhere else throughout the page. So it sort of all blends together. Then you have this section here, which I think was really busy. There's just so much going on here. I'd be really curious to know, if you show this section to someone just for 5 seconds or 10 seconds, how much of this they can actually remember, or what they would get out of it, because there's just so much going on here. Live, discover, on-the-go reading, the news when you need it. I mean, there's just so much information here. I'm wondering if there's a better way to present this. So from a usability standpoint, maybe there's some things to test there. Then you have subscribe to the digital pack today. Choose how you'd like to pay, monthly or annually. And this is interesting because it's almost like this should be on step 2, right? Because now you're basically giving the reader, or giving the visitor, multiple things to consider. So not only do they have to make the decision, do I want to subscribe to The Guardian, but now at the same time, they have to also decide, do I want monthly or annual in terms of how I'm going to subscribe. So this is where I think it would be good to test maybe a 2-step process, where step 1, just simplify it. Make it, do I want to subscribe or do I not want to subscribe? And then on step 2, you can get into monthly versus annually. But again, maybe this is something they're testing, and there's a lot to be said there, but this could be an interesting test, because you don't want to overwhelm the visitor with too many decisions on that very first page. I like that they mentioned you can cancel your subscription at any time. This is a good line to have on any type of page where you have like a free trial or you have to put in your credit card for a trial. If you offer this type of cancellation or anything like that, it's always good to mention it. Just like when we were talking about e-commerce pages and how you should mention what your shipping terms are, and you don't want there to be any hidden costs or hidden surprises for the visitor. The same goes with these types of subscription services. You want to make sure that people know if they're getting locked into anything. And then down here at the bottom, you can see there's a pretty lengthy footer, but there's no call to action down here. So especially on the mobile layout, if someone were to scroll all the way to the bottom, you really wouldn't know what you're doing or what you should do next. So I would repeat the call to action. And then there's some other things that I think are missing here. Testimonials I think would be really nice, just so that people who are not too familiar with The Guardian, like myself, I'm not that familiar with it, maybe that way they would understand what it is that they can get out of this newspaper versus some others that are on the market. And then for a big brand like this, where people sort of know the name, maybe they feel like there's no need for trust logos. But in my opinion, trust logos can certainly help almost every page. And for a company like this, I'm sure they could dig up some really compelling trust logos to add somewhere, like partners that they've worked with, or there's just so many things, maybe awards they've received, something related to investigative journalism. But I think some trust indicators would certainly help. And if you don't have any trust indicators, you could always do things like take this phrase, you can cancel your subscription at any time, and sort of turn that into a trust icon or make it look more trustworthy. So a lot of times you'll see this with e-commerce pages or anywhere you have to put in a credit card. You'll see something like secure order form, or your information is protected, or for like a legal a law firm page where you're getting a free consultation, you might see confidential, your information is private, or a confidential consultation, and you make it look like a nice trust icon so that it stands out and it's not just text, but maybe it has a graphic like a lock or something that conveys that sense of trust. So that's something else you can do with trust icons or trust indicators. And then another thing that I think would be really good would be going back to what we talked about earlier in the course about statistical trust indicators and how you can share stats to sort of show both the social proof and to also build trust and credibility. So imagine if they shared just how many subscribers they have, or how many awards they've won, or how many years they've been publishing, or something like that, or how many articles per week are published, or the number of people who read their articles online, or something that is like a statistical indicator of social proof. And of course, most of this would have to be tested. So I think that's where we're going to leave it for this page. Well, that's all for these landing page reviews. I hope you found them useful, and I hope you begin to see how you can apply many of the principles we've been talking about to your own real-life landing page projects.